Welcome to Discovering. It's that time of year when everything comes to life. Join me for a spring day on the pond. And some spring tackle tips from fishing guide Mike Mladenik.
Every smallmouth fisherman or bass fisherman has their favorite topwater baits.
Stick around, that's all tonight, right here on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Spring is certainly one of my favorite times of the year here in the UP. It's that time of year when you're certain the snow is not coming back. Well, pretty certain anyway. Everything is new again. New plants will soon overtake the old. Birds have returned from their annual vacation. Lakes that have spent the last several months hidden under a frozen layer of ice are again exposed and full of new life. To be part of this unique time of year, you typically need look no further than your own backyard. I'm fortunate enough to live on the backside of a small lake. It's indeed right here in my backyard. I swam here, I fished here, I grew up here. At 132 acres, it's not a big lake. Much of it's only a few feet deep. To most, it's nothing extraordinary or special. It's just another UP lake. But to those who grew up here, it is a special lake. A lake simply known as the pond. The morning sun chases off a hazy blanket of fog, exposing a wealth of wildlife that moments ago I could only hear. The sounds of birds of all sizes as they again begin their daily routine. The leftover colors of fall lit up by the morning sun. The smells of the lake. The morning. Spring. I wonder how many are asleep right now and not here to witness this unveiling. The water is perfectly flat, like a blank slate awaiting the plot and activities of the day to come. And so begins another day on the pond. One of the sure signs of spring is the return of a wide variety of migratory birds. On the pond, one of the most prolific is the red-winged blackbird. The name is derived from the mainly black adult male's distinctive red shoulder patches, which are visible when the bird is flying or displaying. At rest, the male shows a pale yellow wing bar. The female, smaller than the male, is a nondescript dark brown. The red-winged blackbird inhabits open, grassy areas and generally prefers wetlands, particularly if cattails are present. They feed primarily on plant materials, but about 1/4 of its diet consists of insects such as dragonflies, butterflies, moths, and flies, along with other small animals like snails, frogs, worms, and spiders. Red-winged blackbirds that breed in the northern part of their range, like here in the Upper Peninsula, migrate south for the winter. Numerous birds from northern parts of the U.S., particularly the Great Lakes, migrate nearly 750 miles between their breeding season and winter grounds. Red-winged blackbirds travel in single-sex flocks, and males usually arrive a few days before the females. Once they reach the location where they plan to breed, the males stake out territories by singing. The nest is constructed entirely by the female over the course of 3 to 6 days, after which she'll lay a clutch of 3 to 4 eggs. The eggs are incubated by the female alone and hatch in 11 to 12 days. Pairs raise 2 to 3 clutches per season with a new nest for each clutch. The calls of Canada geese, often mistakenly referred to as Canadian geese, signal the transition to spring. Although they sometimes eat small insects and fish, the diet of a Canada goose includes mainly green vegetation. They feed on a variety of grasses while on land. In the water, they feed from silt at the bottom of the lake, along with aquatic plants. During the second year of their lives, Canada geese find a mate, and most couples stay together for the remainder of their lives. The female lays an average of 5 eggs, and both parents protect the nest while the eggs incubate. Its nest is usually located in an elevated area near water such as streams, lakes, or ponds. The annual summer molt also takes place during the breeding season. The adults lose their flight feathers for 20 to 40 days, regaining flight about the same time as their young goslings start to fly. As soon as the goslings hatch, they are immediately capable of walking, swimming, and finding their own food. They enter the fledgling stage any time from 6 to 9 weeks of age and do not leave their parents until after the spring migration, when they return to their birthplace. Canada geese are known for their seasonal migrations. They fly in a distinctive V-shaped formation at an altitude of about 3,000 feet. The maximum flight ceiling of Canada geese is unknown, but they have been reported as high as 29,000 feet. Many geese return to the same nesting ground year after year and lay eggs with their mate, raising them the same way each year. Ducks exploit a variety of food sources such as grasses, aquatic plants, fish, insects, small amphibians, and worms. Most ducks can be categorized as either dabbling or diving ducks. Dabblers have small feet and legs that are situated further forward. They feed on the surface of the water or on land, or as deep as they can reach by upending without completely submerging. Diving ducks, or divers, are ducks that propel themselves underwater with large feet and short legs situated further back on their body. They're heavier than dabbling ducks, allowing them to submerge more easily. Many ducks that dive also dabble. A resident here on the pond, the bald eagle makes its home near wetland habitats where there is open water and an abundance of fish. Their nests are the largest of any bird in North America and are typically found in old-growth trees averaging 32 inches in diameter and 92 feet tall. The species of tree is apparently less important than its height and proximity to prey. The largest recorded nest measured nearly 10 feet wide and 20 feet deep. The bald eagle is a powerful flyer and soars on thermal convection currents. It travels at 35 to 43 miles an hour when gliding and flapping, and its dive speed is between 75 and 100 miles an hour. Bald eagles are sexually mature at 4 to 5 years of age. When they're old enough to breed, they often return to the area where they were born. It's thought that bald eagles mate for life. The average lifespan of bald eagles in the wild is about 20 years. Many birds are easily recognizable by their song, and no bird sings a more enchanting and haunting song than the common loon. Their most common vocalizations are categorized in 4 main types: the tremolo, the yodel, the wail, and the hoot. Each of these calls communicates a distinct message. The black, white, and checkered loons we most recognize are breeding adults. Non-breeding plumage is brownish with a white chin and foreneck. On average, a common loon is about 32 inches long, has a wingspan of 54 inches, and weighs about 9 pounds. Loons are divers. They catch their prey underwater, diving as deep as 200 feet, with the ability to stay underwater for as long as 3 minutes. Their legs are positioned at the rear of their body, ideal for diving but not well suited for walking. Loons need a long distance to gain momentum for takeoff. The lake must be large enough for takeoff and provide a high population of small fish. Clear water is necessary so they can see the fish they prey on. As protection from predators, loons favor lakes with islands and coves. Common loons mate monogamously and annually. They begin breeding at 2 years of age. A pair claims a breeding territory of 60 to 200 acres and patrols it frequently, defending and marking their territory both physically and vocally. Common loon nests are usually placed on islands where ground-based predators cannot normally access them. Both the male and female parents build the nest and take turns incubating the eggs. The eggs hatch in just under a month. When the chicks are a few days old, they will begin to leave the nest with their parents, sometimes catching a ride on their back. A few days later, they're capable of diving underwater and can typically fly at about 10 to 11 weeks old. In the spring and summer, most common loons live on lakes and other waterways in the northern U.S. and Canada. In the fall, they begin their migration, usually to the nearest body of water that will not freeze over in winter. Great Lakes loons typically head for the Gulf of Mexico. You'll find them in streams, lakes, farm ponds, and roadside pools. Painted turtles are active only during the day, when they bask for hours on logs or rocks, reliant on warmth from their surroundings. They eat aquatic vegetation, algae, and small water creatures including insects, crustaceans, and fish. The shell of a painted turtle is made up of 13 separate bone plates called scutes. When the turtle grows, it sheds the outermost layer of these scutes and grows new, larger plates underneath. The age of the turtle can be determined by counting their rings on the scutes. They mate in the spring and autumn. Females dig nests on land and lay eggs between late spring and midsummer. During the winter, the turtle hibernates, usually in the mud at the bottom of water bodies. In this state, the turtle does not breathe, although if surroundings allow, it may get some oxygen through its skin. In contrast to land tortoises, painted turtles can right themselves if they are flipped upside down. The longest-running study in Michigan has shown that painted turtles can live more than 55 years. In their environment, the common snapping turtle is at the top of the food chain. In shallow waters, they'll lie beneath the surface, stretching their long necks for an occasional breath of air. Snapping turtles eat both plants and animals, and are important aquatic scavengers. Snapping turtles are believed to have evolved the ability to snap as a defense mechanism, because unlike other turtles, they're too large to hide in their shells. They'll bite humans, but only as a last resort. Studies have shown that some do not hibernate, but remain active under the ice during the winter. Hibernating snappers do not breathe for more than 6 months. They get oxygen by pushing their head out of the mud and allowing gas exchange to take place through membranes in their mouth and throat. Their lifespan is not really known, but some studies suggest a maximum of over 100 years. Muskrats build nests to protect themselves and their young from cold and predators. During the spring, they often fight with other muskrats over territory and potential mates. Muskrats are most active at night or near dawn or dusk. They feed on cattails and other aquatic vegetation. Plant materials make up about 95% of their diets, but they also eat small animals such as frogs, crayfish, fish, and small turtles. They don't store food up for the winter, but will sometimes eat the insides of their houses. Muskrats help maintain open areas and marshes, which helps to provide habitat for aquatic birds. Muskrats, like most rodents, are prolific breeders. Females can have 2 or 3 litters a year of 6 to 8 young each, and their populations appear to go through regular patterns of rise and decline over a 6 to 10 year period. Muskrats commonly share their habitat with another semi-aquatic rodent, the beaver. The North American beaver, also known as the Canadian beaver, is known for its natural trait of building dams on rivers and streams, and building their lodges in the resulting pond. In the absence of existing ponds, beavers must construct dams before building their lodges. First they place vertical poles, then fill between the poles with a crisscross of horizontally placed branches. They fill in the gaps between the branches with a combination of weeds and mud until the dam holds enough water to surround the lodge. They use powerful front teeth to cut trees and other plants that they use for both building and for food. Beavers do not hibernate, but store sticks and logs in a pile in their ponds, eating the underbark. They have poor eyesight, but a keen sense of hearing, smell, and touch. They're good swimmers and can stay underwater for as long as 15 minutes. Morning has turned to afternoon, afternoon to evening, and my day on the pond is coming to its end. The lake comes alive again as the sun begins to set. The geese, the ducks, redwings seem to give it one last hurrah before handing off the lake to the night. Their song soon fades away, as it's overwhelmed by the chorus of the spectacular night choir. There's probably no other sound that so much signifies the fact that spring is truly here than the singing of the frogs. As night rolls over the pond, it's time to separate and head indoors. But that's okay. It'll all still be here tomorrow. And what I take with me is the reassurance that it's a good thing, a necessary thing to take the time to experience even the simplest of things in my own backyard. To take in and enjoy those things that so often pass by unnoticed with the hustle and bustle of every day. I may just come back out in the morning again to greet the new day and be a witness to the same scenario that will play out again as sure as the sun will rise. With each trip, I see something different, learn something new, find something I somehow missed the last time. Yep, I grew up here, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And today? Well, today was just another day on the pond. The beginning of spring means it's time to go through the tackle box and get ready for the upcoming seasons. Here's some tips from fishing guide Mike Mladenik about topwater baits for bass.
When it comes to topwater fishing, every smallmouth fisherman or bass fisherman has their favorite topwater baits. That's good, but it's easy to get stuck in that rut where you're always using the same bait all the time. This is my favorite one. If I had to pick one when I'm fishing for smallmouth, it's a Hubs Chub. It's got a prop on it, got a lot of noise, got a rattle. I pop it, it drops vertically into the water, and I've got that shake. Most of the time, I can just annihilate the fish on this. I work it slow, I pop it, drops vertically. The red feather tail here, pop it again, it drops back down, drives the smallmouth nuts, but some days, they don't take it. What do I do then? Well, the first thing most people say, I'm gonna change color. You know, I'm gonna go to something that's color's not working. I don't change color, I go to a different type of bait, then I'll switch. I use a lot of poppers too. But you notice this popper, same thing. I've got some kind of hair on the tail. And I just short pop. It drops vertically again in the water. Pop, drops vertically into the water. I play around with that. The two different types of baits, they're similar. But again, this has still got some rattle to it. Then I start experimenting with color. Before I change the color, I'll go to a different style of bait. Black bait, wherever you're fishing, topwater, clear lake or river, whenever it's overcast, maybe got a slight drizzle, I want to use a black bait. All those bright colors, white even, or that sounds good, but stay away from that. Low light conditions, even towards evening. Sometimes you're hitting them with a topwater. Maybe I'm using this orange all day long, and all of a sudden it gets a little dark towards evening. They stop hitting that orange, but I throw out a black bait, and all of a sudden they start hitting that. So even if you fish at night, you want to use black. And another thing, don't hesitate to downsize. Sometimes, you know, they just don't want to take that bait anyway. This popper might be great if they're somewhat aggressive, but you get a cold front, maybe a weather change or something. I'll even use a little tiny little popper like that, and I can catch 20-inch fish with that too. So vary with your different size of the bait. Yeah, you can play with a different color, but size, action, there's a lot of variables in the type of bait that you choose for the day.
Well, that's about it for this week. I'll leave you now with some of the sights and sounds of spring in the UP. Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to check out 906outdoors.com, where you'll find the 906 Fishing Report, TV6 weather, shopping, and more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week, right here on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.